Welcome, friends. Before we begin, if you're seeking a moment of peace and reflection in your day, consider following our channel for more messages that soothe the soul. Now, let's take a breath together. Have you ever felt like you're walking through deep water, pushing with all your might, yet barely moving? The greatest obstacle to God's purpose for us isn't always an external force. Sometimes the battle is within. It's entirely possible to love God, to speak His name in prayer, and yet, in the quiet corners of our hearts, resist His gentle guidance without even knowing it. When we fight against the current of His will, we don't just delay His blessings, we exhaust our own spirit, trying to navigate the vast ocean in our own strength. But here is the beautiful truth of grace. God is patient. He doesn't abandon us to the storm. Instead, He sends loving signals, gentle warnings when we're drifting off course. If you've been feeling lost, adrift, or confused, perhaps this message is a lighthouse just for you. Let's explore 5 whispers from the Spirit that might suggest you're wrestling with God's plan. First, a feeling of constant frustration, like pushing against a locked door. One of the clearest signs is when your path feels perpetually blocked. You pour your heart, your energy, your hope into a certain direction, but every effort seems to dissolve. Proverbs 19:21 whispers a profound truth. Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. These closed doors are not signs of God's rejection, but of His protection. They are loving barricades, redirecting you from a path not meant for you. Think of Jonah. God pointed him toward Nineveh, but Jonah's fear pointed him to the sea. And what found him there? A raging storm, chaos, and the belly of a whale, a terrifying mercy designed to bring him back to surrender. Sometimes God's redirection feels like a storm, but it is always a storm of grace. Second, a profound lack of peace even when you succeed. Another sign is achieving what the world calls success, only to find an echo of emptiness inside. The job is secured, the relationship is won, the goal is met, but your soul is restless. It's like owning a beautiful house but living with a perpetually empty room that aches with silence. Colossians 3:15 invites us, "Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts." This peace is an anchor for the soul. When you are in God's will, this peace holds you steady, even in hardship. But when you're misaligned, no achievement can fill the void. If you've gained the world but lost your peace, it's time to ask if you're walking your path or His. Third, ignoring the wisdom of godly counsel. When our will hardens against God's, we often build walls against the loving voices He sends. Mentors, pastors, trusted friends. Their warnings sound like criticism because they don't affirm what we desperately want. Proverbs 12:15 says, "The way of fools seems right to them, but the wise listen to advice." Ignoring godly counsel is like choosing to sail into a fog when lighthouses are trying to guide you to a safe harbor. God uses His family to protect our family. If you find yourself constantly defending your choices against those who love you, you may be fighting a quiet compromise. This is the hidden corner of the heart we refuse to surrender. Perhaps God has gently asked you to release a relationship, a habit, a bitterness, but you hold on, believing you can manage both your will and His. This is an attempt to hold on to a piece of the darkness while asking for the fullness of His light. James 4:17 is clear. If anyone then knows the good they ought to do and doesn't do it, it is sin for them. Delayed obedience is a gentle no to God. This compromise blocks the flow of His grace and keeps us tethered to the very thing He wants to free us from. And fifth, a creeping spiritual dryness. When you fight against God's plan, the branch begins to separate from the vine. The fruit of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, starts to wither. Prayer feels like it's hitting the ceiling. Worship feels distant. The words on the Bible's pages feel like stone instead of living water. Jesus said in John 15:5, I am the vine, you are the branches. Apart from me, you can do nothing. Fighting his plan isn't a loud declaration of war. It's a slow, quiet disconnection that leaves the soul parched and brittle. If your walk with God feels lifeless, it's a sign that you may need to be grafted back into His will. So, how do we find our way back? If these signs resonate deep within you, do not despair. This awareness is not a condemnation, it is an invitation. The path back is paved with one beautiful, powerful word: surrender. 1. Pray with raw honesty. Tell God, I've been trying to steer the ship. Please, take the helm. 2. Return to His word. Let Scripture be your compass, not your fleeting emotions. 3. Obey with gentle quickness. When He illuminates the next step, take it, even if it's small. 4. Trust His timing. His timeline is woven with a wisdom we cannot see. His delays are not His denials. Romans 12:2 encourages us to be transformed by the renewing of our minds, so we can discern His good, pleasing, and perfect will. So, my friend, what is your heart telling you? Do you feel the resistance, the lack of peace, the spiritual thirst? If so, today can be a turning point, a moment to stop fighting and start yielding. God's plan is not a cage, but a wide-open field of purpose, peace, and abundant life. Remember this: surrender is not raising a white flag of defeat. It is opening your hands in victory, finally trading your flawed blueprint for God's divine masterpiece. If this message touched your heart, please subscribe and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Let's spread this light together. And in the comments, if you feel led, simply write, I open my hands.